tremendous crowds which you see gathered outside the stock exchange are due to the greatest crash in the history of the New York Stock Exchange.
Good evening. Today is Black Monday, the day the Dow dropped more than 500 points. The day the Dow dropped more than 20.
The Dow tumbled more than 500 points, sat down by bad mortgage investments. Lehman, which has 25,000 employees, will be liquidated.
It is definitely a very, very difficult time, and it's not going to get better.
Rising interest rates, a slowdown in global trade, and consumer spending at an all-time low. The 2023 recession is expected to be one of the worst economic downturns in history. It is expected to affect millions of people, and the effects could last for years. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the 2023 recession and why it's so unsettling. So before we dive into the specifics of the 2023 recession, let's first find out what is a recession. A recession is a significant decline in economic activity that lasts for more than a few months and is characterized by a drop in GDP and rising unemployment and a general slowdown in economic activity. That was a mouthful. So now that we know what a recession is, so let's go into the 2023 recession and why it's happening in the first place. Now we need to address the elephant in the room, which is COVID.
They're fighting a war here and they're losing.
Despite vaccines being widely available, the pandemic has caused so many disruptions. Global supply chains down, the labor market down, the consumer demand down. So many things are down right now because of COVID. And yes, it's 2023, but we're still recovering from that. So many people had to shut down their businesses from 2019 to 2023. So then you have the decline of the dollar. Increasing tensions between global major powers such as the United States and China have certainly caused volatility in the markets. China has partnered up with Russia and other countries to put an end to the dollar for good. They plan to back an alternative finally. This is something I think is very important, as most countries rely on the US for stability, whether they're in their currency or in their geopolitical realm.
My fellow countrymen,
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, do solemnly swear.
I, Lyndon Baines Johnson, do solemnly swear.
Let us encourage individuals at home and nations abroad themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Neither Prince nor Pope.
Celebrate the mystery of American renewal.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
Execute the office of President to the United States faithfully.
Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
If the dollar extremely crashes, what's going to happen to other currency pairs that are clearly weaker than the US dollar? Then we have the housing market. You and I both know that the housing market is struggling right now.
It does seem like we're headed into a recession here in 2023.
2022 has seen a massive increase in rental prices and demand has been
Breaking news just in the last few moments. House prices are down 1.1%.
There will be a massive depreciation in the housing market and probably one of the...
Throughout time, the residential construction employment has always been a leading indicator to global disruption. So whenever there's a recession, usually the residential construction employment tends to lag just before that happens. And this is how investors manage their money accordingly, because they're able to predict these little things that can tell you what's going to happen. The best way to manage residential construction employment is through planning permits. Planning permits are basically permits from the government that give you permission to build on a piece of land. I mean, it would be pretty crazy, to be honest, if you didn't have permission to build on land. I mean, that would take us to the Viking era, back in the day when they would just fight and fight and fight for land, taking no permission from anyone, just take the land, build on it. And that, I don't think, would be pretty fun, to be honest. And yes, that's why we have planning permits, because planning permits are sensitive to monetary policies, but also to interest rates. So when there is a decrease in planning permits, we can see that there's going to be a decrease in residential construction employment, and this is our leading indicator as to whether the economy is going to go into downturn or not. So this is the way I think about it. Over time, population increases, so we need to match that with the number of houses we have. But if there's an imbalance in between them, then it's not going to be directly proportionate to each other. If the imbalance is really, really significant, then this is going to be a problem, because there's essentially just more people and not enough houses. And I don't have to tell you, if there's not enough houses for people, how many problems that could potentially create. So then we have the banking crisis. I'm not sure if you guys have heard what's going on, but let me update you.
Rough week for the banking industry.
The collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. The second biggest bank collapse in U.S. history.
The Silicon Valley Bank collapsed on March 10 after a run on deposits doomed the tech-focused lenders' plans to raise fresh capital.
Banks all around the world are losing liquidity. The main reason being that banks actually don't keep money there. So banks don't keep money in the actual banks, mainly because banks are leveraging the money that they have. So you and I are everyday citizens. We put our money into the bank. The bank then keeps that money for an extended period of time, and they're like, okay, we'll look after your money. But what actually happens is they then use that money to gain more money. I mean, it's simple. If you were a billionaire and you had $1 billion or £1 billion, would you not want to make more if you knew you could make more? And that's the way banks work. They think and they believe that they can make more, which they can. Banks leverage that money into index funds, stock market, the foreign exchange market, and just ETFs in general. The problem is that banks leveraging money that's not theirs, if it's lost, can create potential conflicts. So when your money is getting lost and my money is getting lost, we're going to have to file for returns. We're going to have to file for the money back. And if the bank doesn't actually have that money, if thousands of people need their money and they don't actually have that liquidity, then you can see why the bank would have to close. And this essentially happened in Silicon Valley. And the fact that it happened in Silicon Valley means it can happen everywhere, and it is happening everywhere. Now that we know what's causing the 2023 recession, let's talk about why it's actually deeply unsettling. While the scale of the recession is predicted to be very severe, we're talking the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, has predicted major downturn for the economy this year. According to the IMF, we got a growth of 6%, and that went down to 3% over a 2-year period. That is not a great sign. That's double. Not to mention the impact on jobs. So all around the world, jobs are being cut left, right, and center. So what people don't understand is when these jobs are being cut, they're not being brought back. So over a 10-year period or a 5-year period, these jobs are not coming back. So we just generally have a lack of jobs. And this is why it's going to take the labor market a long time to recover from the 2023 recession. So what can you do about it? Here are 3 tips that you can use to combat this recession. Number 1 is focus on your skills. If you're worried that your job can be cut at any point in time, then you need to learn a high demand skill, something that can't be taken away from you. That could be coding, and that could be communication. That could be anything that's useful to an employer that can pay you a lot of money. Number 2 is building an emergency fund. This is always going to be helpful no matter what storm you're facing. Number 3 is be proactive. Don't wait till the recession's in full effect to take action. Take action way before that. Try expanding your social circle, because your network is your net worth. This is the thing. If you're around people that are making money in loads of different ways, whether you're learning from them or you're not learning from them, it's going to encourage you and that a belief to make money. And encouragement is something that we all need. If you know your dad or your mom are making money and your friends are making money, then obviously it's going to encourage you to make money. That's just simple. If no one around you is making money, then that's obviously just going to discourage you from making money. So that's it for today's video. I hope you find it informative and helpful. And let me know in the comments down below what type of videos you want to see next.